Uh, hey, hey, everybody. I just woke up, so bear with me here. Anyway, so I've been wanting to do this series for a while now that I call Skald Stories. Now, for those that don't know, a Skald is essentially a Viking poet. They go onto battlefields or they pass on stories. Essentially, it's a bard. Okay. So, haha, cute. And basically, what this is going to be is this is going to be me giving advice and opinions on storytelling and writing, which is something that I am extremely passionate about. I am an aspiring author. I'm attempting to write several books. I could just get off my ass and do that. But I don't have any formal training. I haven't gone to any schools or anything like that. So I don't have a whole lot of authority, if any, on these kinds of subjects. But essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the experiences that I've had and the different thoughts that I have on these subjects, and I hope that I can help those who could use different opinions apart from the professional ones. This is just me talking. There's no script. I basically have a idea of the kind of thing I want to talk about, but we'll get into that in a bit. But just know I don't have any professional background, so I'm not really an authority on this thing. I just really love storytelling, whether it's through Dungeons and Dragons or through writing books, anime, all that jazz, anything. So essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be passing on my opinions and knowledge in an attempt to help other people to understand the kind of things I talk about in these, and I'll show you what I mean. So a couple days ago, I released a video called "Things That Piss Me Off," Edgelords, and I mentioned that I was gonna make a new series. Well, this is it. So essentially, what this is I'm going to tell you in depth about Edgelords, what not to do, and how to make them work. Because a lot of people assume that Edgelord is a lost cause. The concept in and of itself isn't bad. The problem is the people that take it too far. The people that don't understand the character. In essence, there's no such thing as a bad character, writing wise. I mean, like the village idiot, the edge lord, the Mary Sue. The Mary Sue can actually work. It's all about how you approach the character. So what we're gonna go over is we're gonna go over the negatives of the character. I'm gonna show you examples, and those examples will slowly go towards a more positive outlook on the edge lord archetype. I'm really crude at this editing thing, so bear with me. So, what is an edge lord? The makeup of an edge lord starts like this, okay? Dark backstory. The edge lord always has a dark backstory, whether it's someone in their family died, whether they were abandoned as a child. It's always something negative that makes the edgelord feel alone or trapped or scared or angry. They never have a good background. Now, the reason for this is it's the catalyst for why they have all of these negative traits, is because the trauma from that event is forcing them to lash out against other things. The problem with this is people use that as an excuse. They don't actually use it to develop their character. They don't actually have it be a crutch that the character leans on in order to survive. They don't have it be a goal to work towards in order to heal or better themselves. They use it as a, oh, I was beaten as a child, so I have anger issues, and that's why I lash out and stab people. That's the kind of thing an edgelord does. That's not a dark character. The difference is a dark backstory is the reason why you do the things you do. It is the first point of your character's personal journey. If you've ever heard of the hero's journey, awesome concept, by the way. I don't have all my notes on that right now on hand, so I can't exactly go over them by memory. I'm doing all this by memory. So essentially what the hero's journey is it's a formula that almost all stories have, whether it's Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Harry Potter, animes like Naruto, Bleach, Dragon Ball, all those. It basically follows the same set formula. And an edgelord is no different. I'll go over that in greater detail, but essentially what that means, sorry for the little beeping in the background, it's notifications. So essentially what the hero's journey is it's a normal person. Damn it! I hit my keyboard. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for breaking the immersion. I apologize. Anyway, I'm moving on. So the hero's journey is essentially it's the transformation of the hero throughout the journey. They start off as just a regular Joe, then something happens and they get pushed into the story world. They have a mentor, they have obstacles they have to overcome, yada yada yada, and then they get where they go. They get where they are. The problem with edgelord players and writers and people that don't understand the character is they don't reach these goals. They have the backstory and they use it as an excuse in order to do the things that they do and justify them. So, for example, a ninja whose entire family was killed by a family member goes on a journey to find strength, and their entire goal is to kill that family member. No, wait. We have a character like that. His name is Sasuke. Sasuke's backstory in Naruto is he grew up in the Uchiha clan, which is a very powerful clan within the Leaf Village. Stuff happened, I won't spoil it, but his brother kills their entire family. Like the entire Uchiha clan is wiped out by one dude. By the way, Itachi, king. King. That guy is awesome. So Sasuke's entire premise is to find and kill his brother. And he doesn't care who he has to go through to do that. Which brings us to the dark backstory. He is completely traumatized because his parents, his cousins, his family members, his friends, all of them dead by his older brother's hands. His older brother who he idolized. He idolized his older brother. His older brother was one of the best of the best. And now, because his brother wiped out their entire family, Sasuke was left alone. And his entire shtick is, I'm going to find my brother and I'm going to kill him. Now, why does Sasuke represent bad traits in edgelords? Why is it when everyone says, oh, that's a really good edgelord character, people don't look at Sasuke? Sasuke's story is that he's very antisocial, which is another trait we'll come to. He's very lone wolfy. He's always seeking power. He always muscles his way through everything. He's essentially considered the best in the school. But he doesn't care. He doesn't give two flying shits about these accomplishments. I mean, look at him. Look at his design. He even looks like an edgelord, for Christ's sake. So, before I go further into his story, I'm basically showing him off first before the traits so I can use him as a base example, and then we'll move on forward as we go. So, what is another trait of an edgelord? They prefer killing over talking. Now, Sasuke is an exception to this rule. He doesn't mind sharing some words with opponents or random people before beating the shit out of them. But the problem with most edgelords is they prefer killing over talking. If a like I said in my last video, in the things that piss me off video, a party of adventurers will go up to a gate. The gate guard will inspect them, tell them they're not allowed to come in without a pass. They have to get a piece of paper that says, "Hey, we're coming in." And then the assassin character will just flat out kill the guard and say, "Hey, we can go in now. There's no one stopping us." Or we could say, let's say the party has to break into a mansion to steal something. Well, the objective you'd think would be to not get caught. Well, the assassin would just go in, wipe everybody out, and then he'd say, "Well, we're not going to get caught now." Their solution to every problem is to kill. This is one of the reasons why Sasuke is an example against this rule, because that's not his trait. That is one trait of the edgelord he does not share. He doesn't go straight for the killing blow. He's tactical. He uses stealth. He uses his brain. He doesn't just brute force his way through everything. He actually has a plan. Or at very least, he tries to make things up as he goes. He doesn't just go for the killing blow and call it a day. No. So, that's another trait. Rarely, if ever, talks at all. Sorry to say, Sasuke fits this role. He is not one for conversation unless it benefits him in some way. Otherwise, he just doesn't talk to people. He doesn't care. Unless he's insulting someone or telling them off. Anything negative, really. He doesn't have anything positive to say about anybody at all, ever. He doesn't say, "Hey, good job. Hey, I like the way you do things. Hey, you look good today." None of that. If an edgelord ever talks, it's always negative. Why? Because I had a tragic backstory and my character's all dark and brooding and blah, 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 and all that garbage. The player and author and whatever that's using the edgelord archetype does not understand how they work. So, they misuse it. This is one of those times. Your backstory does not dictate your social ability. You could be reserved, but that doesn't mean you have to be entirely antisocial. And we'll get into those. So, next. Wears all black and sometimes covers hair or mask, or wears a mask. They cover their face. Sasuke's got the hair point kind of down. But that's a classic anime trope, so you can't really fault that one. But the wearing all black part, that's pretty standard. Are edgelords goths or emos? They could be classified as that, but often not. They just do it because they want to blend into the shadows and they want to hide away, because rarely edgelords are ever like wizards or warriors or knights. No, they're always rogues and assassins. Most of the time. They want to do things stealthily from the darkness. Ooh. Ugh. They fight with a katana, a small blade, or martial arts. You think our boy Sasuke fits that bill? I think he does. Another reason for this is it romanticizes the ninja archetype. Not to mention a lot of edgelords are weebs. They think katanas are like the ultimate weapon. They think Japanese culture and ninja culture is the peak performance you can reach. And the reason they like to use small blades is because they can hide them, conceal them. They're good for assassinations. You can coat them in poison. When's the last time you saw an edgelord swing a greatsword around or use a bow? No, they like to get up close and personal. They like to stab, stab, stab. It's all about being hidden. All about beating your opponent down with all your anger and all of your sadness with your bare hands and letting it all out, you know? So, is that a bad trait? No. No, that's not a bad edgelord trait, but it is a red flag to look for. Refuses to interact or engage with others on a social level. I went over this. Like I said, they don't talk to anybody, they don't interact. They're always the one that sit in the corner of the tavern in the darkness, brooding with a single candle on the table. All alone, smoking their pipe or some bullshit. Basically, think Strider in the first Lord of the Rings. When you first see him, that's a very edgelordy trait he pulls off, sitting in the corner like that. But he does that as a scouting kind of thing. He was looking for Frodo and the boys. So he was basically doing that to not be conspicuous, but they spotted him, so. Single-minded and driven very hard towards one end goal. The common trope with an edgelord is they have a goal in mind, which, like I said, usually results in killing someone. For Sasuke's example, it's his brother. His entire life is dedicated to finding his brother and murdering him. Why? Because of what he did to his family. He betrayed his family, he betrayed the clan, he betrayed his brother, so now his brother is seeking holy vengeance. It's usually something of this line. And the thing with the edgelord is they make this goal their entire personality. I have to find the person that killed my master. I have to find the person that took my parents into slavery. I have to eradicate the clan that betrayed me. I have to do this. I have to do that. Fine. Having a personal goal is fine. Like, for example, Lae'zel in Baldur's Gate 3, she is so blinders on her goal, it actually gets kind of annoying sometimes. But the difference is she still comments on other people and their things. She's constantly pushing you towards her goal because her personality is she's a bitch. But she has her own problems and her own thing in mind. They prefer to do things in a straight line. This comes back to the prefers killing over talking argument. They don't want to beat around the bush. They want to get in, do their thing, get out. No subtlety, no coming up with different methods for doing things. They don't care about stuff like that. They don't care about how do I put this? They don't care about subtlety. I guess that would be the best term I could use for it. Because the edgelord's entire goal is focused on how do I put this? It's focused on just one thing. But the issue is that because they don't interact with other things, they don't care. They don't give a shit about other people. They don't care about... hold on one second. I'm getting distracted here. 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. I had to take care of something off screen here quick that I forgot about. So, why is this a problem? The reason it's a problem is because they're so straightforward that if they're in a group, that group has to go along with what they do. They have to break into the mansion. They have to kill the guards. They have to do this. They have to do that. There are no other options. Because the Edgelord is so impulsive, this is what they do. This is the goal. This is the only way, let's say. It's the only possible way they can get away with things. Interacts with others to gain power or to use them. Now that is true. The only reason that Sasuke ever interacts with someone is either to gain power from them, like when he trains with Kakashi, or when he, spoiler alert, leaves with Orochimaru to gain power from him. He uses both of those people. He trains with them, he learns their techniques, he gets stronger, and then he abandons them. It happens throughout the anime constantly. He interacts with Karin because I forget her deal, but I believe he bites her, and she has some special ability where he can siphon chakra directly from her by doing that. She develops feelings for Sasuke. She likes him. He couldn't give two shits less. He doesn't care. He uses her as a battery, a recharger, for his own power. He didn't care. He recruits the other two guys because he wants them for his team. He wants power. He doesn't care. You know, they're not friends. They're tools. They're weapons. Anything to make him stronger. Edgelord. Lone Wolf. Classic Edgelord. They don't team up with people. They constantly want to be alone. They wander off by themselves. They are seen wandering through alleyways by themselves. They don't go anywhere public. They're not around people. They're isolationists. The only time they team up with people is if they need to use them for something, or if the dungeon master, heaven forbid, forces them to be with the party somehow. They have to team up with people. They don't necessarily have a main character syndrome, but sometimes they do. A lot of the time they do, but the whole trick with the Edgelord is they want to remain in the background, not the foreground. They don't want to be in the spotlight. However, they do want the story to be about them. So what they'll do, a common tactic of the Edgelord, is they'll stay in the background by not saying anything, not interacting, not doing anything until a quote-unquote cool moment comes along. That's when they shine. When there is something that can elevate them in terms of, look how cool I am. So Sasuke doesn't really fit that bill because it's an anime, but this type of thing is extremely common in Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop games because they don't interact with people. They sit by and let the other players do all the boring talking and all the boring shopping. But the second it comes down to killing or taking down an epic boss, the Edgelord is right on that. They are going head first into that kind of situation. So, these are the 10 most red flaggy tropes of an edgelord. So what are the major problems? Zero social interactions. They are completely murder focused, lone wolf, and they're too straightforward. So how do we solve these problems? The whole goal of this video is to give reasons as to why this edgelord is bad and how we can make them work. So, with Sasuke out of the way, I will give you some more examples. Second. Now, here are two edgelords, quote unquote, in animes that one I enjoy, the other one I do not. This, on the left, we have Hajime Nagumo from the anime Arifureta. And on the right, we have Minoru Kageno I don't know if I said that wrong or not, but he's from Eminence in Shadow. One of these animes I cannot stand with a passion. The other one, kind of decent. All right. But here's where I'm going to differentiate a decent edgelord and a bad edgelord. Nagamo on the left, with the guns and the metal arm, is the competent edgelord. In the anime, he is essentially an alchemist. His power results around scanning things and transforming them into other things. So for example, he'll look at a rock and say, "Hey, this rock has a lot of sparking properties." So he takes that rock and he forms it into bullets for his guns. He doesn't have any sword capabilities, at least not yet. He doesn't have any good magic, but he transforms things into useful tools. Now, when the anime first starts off, everyone sees this ability as stupid. So he's constantly ridiculed, he's constantly shunned down upon, and one of his classmates tries to kill him. Like, flat out, get rid of him. He essentially sacrifices himself to help out a girl in the party, and he gets tossed aside. He lives, but they don't know that. But he finds out, hey, they tried to kill me. That doesn't break him. What breaks him is him trying to survive, because when they shot at him, he fell off a bridge and he fell down way, way down. I'm not going to give away too many spoilers, but essentially what happened was he had to fight off monsters for weeks, maybe a month or two, where he was. He basically had to survive off of scraps. He would kill monsters and eat them and gain their power. That's how he leveled up so strong. And he had to learn to do everything all on his own. He learned through experimentation. He didn't just know how to make guns. He had to learn these traits using his alchemy. So when he comes out, he's a much harsher person. He even lost his arm just trying to survive. He had to make himself a whole new arm. So his trauma comes from betrayal and survival. And he fights his way all the way back to the surface world. That's his dark backstory. That's where his prefers killing over talking comes from. He rather just fights his way through things. He's not a bullshitter. However, down the line in that tunnel, he comes across a girl. And I'm not going to give any major spoilers, but he frees that girl and he teams up with her. And that's where he breaks away from the edgelord trope. He has a social interaction with this girl. He's basically in love with this girl. Like, she is the only person that sees him for what he is and didn't try to betray him. At first, of course, he doesn't trust her. But he sees a girl that's trapped and he's like, well, I can't just abandon her. At first, he was going to. At first, he saw her and he's like, well, whatever. But then she called out for help. And that's when he's like, fuck. All right, fine. A regular edgelord wouldn't. A normal edgelord, if they were given the opportunity to save her, they would probably ask her for a reward. He didn't. He didn't ask for a reward. He just went for it. And eventually they built up a bond. And throughout the anime, he builds bonds with other people. That's where he breaks the anti-socialism. He still has the lone wolf trait, but it's more of him just kind of pulling back socially and then opening up along the anime as he does that. Fights with katana, small blades, or martial arts. He's not much of a martial artist. He uses a lot of guns and a lot of weaponry, so he doesn't really fit that trope either. Wears all black, covers face with hair or mask. He lost an eye, so he wears an eye patch, so it's not exactly a fair fight, but he does have the long hair. He did grow his hair out, and he does wear a lot of black, so sorry, Nakamo. Rarely, if ever, talks at all. He breaks that trope. So again, not bad. But then again, he's the main character of the anime, and if he doesn't talk, we're kind of in trouble. He doesn't only interact with others to gain power or to use them. He does have a lot of friends, he does have social connections. It's just he's extremely reserved because of the betrayal. He keeps people at arm's length, essentially, but he does interact with them on a social level. So he breaks that trope. He's not driven very hard by an end goal. His entire objective is to go home by any means necessary. That is his goal. His goal is to leave the fantasy world and go back to Japan. Now, that could be seen as singular, but throughout the anime, he does eventually change that and say, well, I don't want to be the savior of the world, but here we are. So let's just do this, I guess. He doesn't shy away from other goals. He still has a single goal in mind, but his drive to go towards it is lessened so that he can help out other goals and other tactics. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about Minoru, or Shadow, as he prefers to be called. Okay, I'm only going to give a brief summary of this guy because I loathe Eminence in Shadow. I hate this anime with an absolute passion. And I'm not kidding. I fucking hate Eminence in Shadow. And I will go over that in a totally other video, I'm sorry. In my another things that piss me off. But if you like Eminence in Shadow, congratulations. I feel happy for you. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I would rather take 2 screwdrivers and jab them into my eyeballs than watch this anime ever again. Anyway. So what's Minoru's backstory? He wants to be the strongest thing in the world. Not the strongest person, the strongest thing. His goal is to become so powerful, he wants to survive a nuclear explosion. I'm going to repeat that. A human being in the real world wants to become so powerful he can survive a nuclear explosion. He wants to tank a nuke. This idiot actually genuinely believes he can do that one day. So that's his goal. He doesn't have a dark backstory. This guy is nothing but wins down the board for his anime, which pisses me off. Rarely, if ever, talks at all. No, he talks a lot, unfortunately. But does he use people only to gain power? Yes. Yes, he does not have any social interactions at all on a positive level with people. He considers other people, quote unquote, NPCs. Like, there's a girl at school, he doesn't even remember her name. He considers her a nobody. She isn't even a human being in his eyes. She is a walking pile of code in his life. If he's the main character, then she's an NPC in his life, along with the teachers and the students. Everything about them is meaningless to him. His single-minded goal is to become strong. That's it. He wants to become absolutely powerful. Whether that means physically strong, whether that means in durability-wise, that's his goal. As unrealistic as it is. Wears all black, covers face, he's got those down easy. Katana, small blades, or martial arts, he's got those down easy. This guy oozes Edgelord on the negative level. Lone wolf, technically yes. He does have a lot of subordinates working for him, but he doesn't really interact with them at all. This guy is a teenage girl's wet dream. But that's the problem. He is the negative aspect of the Edgelord. And compared to Nagamo, story-wise, he's a much worse version of the same archetype. I'll take it a step further. I'll show you other examples. Here's a classic one. Shadow the Hedgehog. His tragic backstory is he was a clone, or not, he's basically a clone of Sonic. And he was deemed as the ultimate life form by Gerald Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik's father. He made Shadow. And Robotnik's what was her name? Maria? There's a girl that hung out with Shadow, and she was basically his grounded in reality friend. So he did have a friend, quote unquote. Yeah, friend, I guess would be the best term for it. I mean, they were still scientists, so they were still like test subject and creator, I guess, in a sense. But she interacted with him on a social level. She treated him like a person. So he had a bit of happiness. And that was taken away. I won't spoil it, but she that's gone. So then he becomes bitter. And he wants to exact vengeance on all humanity. I'm going off of his lore in uh Sonic Adventure 2 because that's his first appearance. That's where he first came into being. Does he fight with a katana, small blade, or martial arts? Not really. But eventually he gets his own game where he has guns, which is really stupid for a Sonic game. I don't know why they did that. Whereas Black, obviously, rarely if ever talks at all. Kind of. He doesn't really interact with people unless he needs to. Otherwise, he's just kind of there. But he will pipe up from time to time if he feels the need to. Single-minded and driven very hard towards a goal. In the Sonic 2 games, he does, but he also has points in the story where he breaks off and does other things. Like, for example, Rouge gets trapped in a government building that's about to explode, and he remembers Maria, and he's like, fuck, all right, fine. And he goes to save her. He originally is going to abandon her, but he does help her out. So Shadow isn't as bad as these other tropes, because eventually down the line, he becomes a member of Sonic's team. He is right up there with Tails, with Sonic, with Knuckles. He becomes one of the crew. Cool, right? So as we're slowly going on, we're getting more and more lighthearted, as you can tell. You're probably asking yourself, can girls be edgelords? Yes. Yes, they can. This is Akame from Akame Ga Kill. Not going to go too deep into her backstory and all that because I only saw this anime once, a long time ago. Can't remember too much about it. But essentially, her story is that her sister betrayed her, and now her entire goal is to hunt down her sister. Now, the reason she's not very socially interactable is just because she's very shy and nervous. She doesn't really know how to interact with people. So when she does, it often comes off as comical. Like, for example, she can't cook. Every time she tries to cook, she creates these weird concoctions that nobody wants to eat. And she's like, well, is it good? Do you like it? And everyone's like, yeah, it tastes great. You know, that kind of thing. Does she fight with a katana? Yes. But standard anime stuff, so you gotta let that pass. Wears all black? Yes. Rarely talks at all? Yes. First killing over talking? She's not really a killer, but she's very straightforward. She's very, well, this person's in our way. Shall I kill them? It's like, no, just let us do the thing. And then she backs off. She says, okay, do your thing then. But if you want me to kill them, say so. She's very straightforward. She's a no nonsense kind of edgelord. She's no bullshit. Is she a lone wolf? Not particularly. She does work with a team and she does interact with them on social levels. But she does come off as kind of, I'd rather do things my own way, quote unquote. So she's not terrible, but she is in the realm of edgelord. Here's a very popular one. Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. Hiei's tragic backstory is that he has a sister who is capable of producing these really valuable gemstones from her tears. So she's constantly being kidnapped or pursued, and his job is to protect her. Here's the trick. She doesn't know he is her brother. She has no idea who he is, and he wants to keep it that way. Because He is constantly involved in shady stuff. He's involved in underground deals, in fights. He's constantly teaming up with or fighting against powerful demons, and he doesn't want her involved in that life. So he keeps his distance. But that's his goal, is to protect his sister, not to kill anybody. He wants power. He wants to be super strong. But the goal is to protect his sister, not to kill, not to murder everybody. However, he will do that to get to that goal. But in the end, his number one goal is to protect his sister. He is a lone wolf. He has a lot of tough talk. So, for example, they're fighting in a tournament with him and his teammates, and he says something along the lines of, well, if one of our teammates can't fight, then I'll take their place. He has a lot of tough talk. He's constantly putting himself on the front line. And even Kurama in the anime says, yeah, he might talk tough, but he actually knows when shit's going down. He does it as kind of a bluff check or an intimidation check. You know, he wants to look tough in order to get that edge. If he can overcome like if he gets hit by a really powerful attack and tanks it, it'll scare his opponent. Because it's like, oh, I told you I could take you on. I told you I was tough. And it's like, oh shit, he really is tough. Shit, I'm in trouble. He does like that's why he does that. But in the end, he knows his own limits. He uses an attack called Dragon of the Darkness Flame, where he summons a dragon and it consumes part of his arm, which is why it's wrapped up. It's wrapped up like that because the dragon basically ate part of his arm as payment for it fighting for him, or at least it's summoning itself. When he summons the dragon, it basically does whatever it wants. He just shoots it at his opponent and calls it a day. But he had to recover from that in order to fight. He couldn't use it again because it damaged his arm so bad. So he does have a sense of self-sacrifice. That's another thing the Edgelord doesn't really do. They don't sacrifice themselves for anybody. EA does. He sacrifices himself for his sister. He sacrifices himself for his team. EA is an example of a good edgelord, a good written edgelord. He does have social interactions, but he still has the whole arms folded, cold-faced look. He is the tough guy of the group. So, he has that going for him, I guess. Next one. Much older one. Phoenix Ikki from Saint Seiya. Now, Saint Seiya, to put it in a nutshell, guys draw their power from constellations, and those constellations give them both powers and armor. And they use that to fend off evil. That's the most simple way I can put it. Ikki's constellation is the Phoenix, so he has control over fire. Now, his tragic backstory is when they were being selected, it was a group of orphans. And one of the orphans was also his brother, Shun. Each of them was selected to go to a different training ground to learn how to harness their powers and how to fight and how to become a member of the Saints. Saints are people that are granted these special armors called cloths. So currently, Ikki is wearing a bronze cloth. They're graded bronze, silver, gold, and god. He's wearing a bronze cloth right now, which is the lowest. So basically, his brother Shun is very meek. He's not weak, but he's very gentle, let's say. He's not a fighter. He's not an aggressive person. But Shun gets selected for Death Island or something like that. I think it's called Death Island. Very harsh, volcanic, nothing grows there. It's a very, very rough training ground. And Ikki doesn't want his brother going there. So he volunteers himself to go there instead. And his training is absolutely brutal. He has to survive on this volcanic island while constantly getting his ass kicked. He gets beaten, bloodied every day, has to fend for food, has to fend for survival. He takes a beating out there. And that's why he's so bitter and cold. Because his entire life he grew up just getting shit on in order to train to become strong. But it did make him strong. Now, one of the things that happened to him on that island was he came across a girl. I forget her name. I want to say it was Elizabeth, something like that. I can't remember, so I apologize if I'm wrong. But he came across this girl, and eventually she ended up dying when he got into a fight with his master, the guy that was training him. She ended up dying. And the master didn't give a shit. He's just like, oh, yes, let the hate flow through you. I can feel your anger. It gives you power. He pulled the Palpatine, and Iki got pissed and killed him. So that's why Iki doesn't form connections, because he had a connection with this girl and lost it, and it traumatized him. So he doesn't have that connection. So that's where his lone wolf thing comes from. Originally he teams up with the other saints, the other 5, but he also breaks off and says, "You know what? Screw this team shit. I'm going to go off on my own." And he does. He essentially becomes a sort of trump card in the anime. So when things are looking bleak for the boys, Iki shows up to either defeat the enemy or give them enough time to recover. So he doesn't automatically defeat foes. He can also just tank it. Like, he gets his ass kicked still. He's the tough guy of the group, and he still gets his ass kicked. The difference is he shows up to save the day, especially when his brother is in trouble. If his brother Shun is in trouble, he will walk through hellfire to help him. So they do have a connection. Iki does have a connection. He has friends, he has family, he cares about them. He still has this lone wolf attitude, but he doesn't let it define him. It's just a part of him because of his trauma. That's what makes this edgelord work. He doesn't contribute to all of these things. He has the dark backstory. He prefers fighting over talking, but he's not above teamwork and friendship. He's not above helping his brother. He has another goal besides killing. It's to help his brother. Another example, the most classic example, Batman. Batman is the quintessential edgelord that's not an edgelord in this scenario. His dark backstory was his parents were killed when he was a child, and he witnessed it. Him and his parents came home from the theater, or were walking home from the theater. They couldn't get a taxi, so they took a shortcut through an alleyway. A mugger shot both of his parents dead, and he grew up bitter. But here's the thing. He doesn't kill. He does not kill. That is Batman's one rule. Already, that's a major jump in how to make an edgelord work. He does not kill. He does not stoop to the level of the criminals he fights. Does he wear black and cover his face? Yes. He does it because, one, it helps him blend into the darkness, so it gives him a tactical advantage. He was trained by ninjas, essentially, so he knows how to end a fight without getting in a fight. But he knows how to fight if he does. Essentially, the whole tactic with assassins is to take out an opponent without being seen or heard. So that's the safest way, right? It's the best way to get the jump on them when their guard is down, when they're completely alone or isolated, when they don't even see it coming. He uses that tactic, but he doesn't kill with it. So he's walking the line 50-50 right now. Does he fight with a katana and small blades or martial arts? Katana? No. Small blades? Yes, with his batarangs, and I believe the edges of his spiked gauntlets are also blades. But he uses those for, like, catching swords and stuff. Martial arts? Definitely. Batman's one of the best martial artists in DC Comics. He has to be. He takes on a lot of tough people. Refuses to interact or engage with others on a social level. That's not true. That's not true for Batman. Batman does not do that. He does interact with people, but he does so very coldly because that's just his personality. The trauma forced him to isolate his inner self. Like, to him, Batman is his true persona. Bruce Wayne died alongside of his parents. You know how superheroes have secret identities? Superman has Clark Kent. Wonder Woman has, what's her name? Diana Pierce, something like that. Bruce Wayne is Batman's secret identity. He's not Bruce Wayne. He is Batman. Batman is the real him. He uses Bruce Wayne as his mask. That is his secret identity. It's not the other way around. Is he single-minded and driven very hard towards one end goal? Kind of. It's to protect people. That's it. His objective is to save people and stop evil. So he is completely separate from the Edgelord archetype. He doesn't want to cause pain. He doesn't want to cause suffering. He doesn't use his backstory as a weapon to justify his actions against others. He uses it as the catalyst for why he does what he does, to prevent other people from becoming him. He became this so other people don't have to. Is he a lone wolf? Partially. But he's not above helping other people, and he's not above getting help from others. He won't really ask for help, but he'll hint at it. I remember him and Flash were trapped in a cage, and Flash used his vibration ability to push his molecules through the bars so that way he could escape. And he goes to free Batman, and he's trying every combination on the lock, and Batman gives him the combo and says, that's the code I would have used. He doesn't say, hey, Flash, come help me. He just says, oh, here's the code to get me out. You know, he's kind of a dick like that. He doesn't ask for help. But he will if it comes down to it. He'll say, oh, hey, I have a friend that I might not be able to take you on, but I have a friend that can, and then Superman bursts through the wall. Or he'll have, I remember one time, in order to protect his identity, he had Alfred dress up as Batman and stand on top of a building doing the whole Batman thing, while he was Bruce Wayne on the ground. And he was all, oh, guess I'm not Batman. And even Alfred's like, don't ever make me do that again. I can't climb buildings like that. I'm too old for this shit. So, and then there's another instance Batman interacts. He interacts with Flash. He respects the shit out of Flash because Flash can help criminals without even fighting them. So when Flash Appreciation Day happens, Flash is basically saying, hey, I want you guys to come over for Flash Appreciation Day so we can party and have drinks and have food. And Batman's like, I don't do parties, dude. I have a lot of work to do. You know, I have a lot of stuff to take care of. A dinner party is just kind of out of the question. And Flash is like, oh, okay, well, I understand, I guess. So, oh well, I'm sure it's going to be a great party. You know, Flash Day. Day to appreciate Flash. Means a lot. And Batman just goes, what time? So he does appreciate his fellow superheroes. He does. He interacts with them on a social level because they are still his friends. He's not above having friends. He's just got a cold personality because of his dark backstory. This is an edgelord that works to perfection. Batman is a perfect edgelord in the positive sense. I'll give you more detailed examples. I'll give you 2 more examples of why Batman works as an edgelord. In Batman the Animated Series, which, by the way, Batman the Animated Series kicks serious ass. Batman the Animated Series is awesome. You watch that. In one of the episodes, Harley Quinn is rehabilitated. Arkham Asylum gives her the green light, and they say, "Hey, you can reintegrate back into society. You're cool." And Harley Quinn's like, "Thank you," and she leaves. So the episode of Harley's Holiday begins. I'm going to summarize this. I'm not going to waste your time explaining the whole episode, but I'm going to summarize this. Basically, what happens is Harley Quinn goes to back into real life, back into society. She's not Harley Quinn anymore. She's Harley Quinzel, the girl, the human being. So she goes into a department store and she sees a dress. She sees a really nice pink dress that she wants, and she buys it. She doesn't steal it. She legitimately buys it with real money. The problem is she's so excited that they don't take off the theft tag. So once she reaches the door, it starts beeping. The security guard basically says, "Hey, you're trying to steal it." And she's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not trying to steal it. I bought it legitly." And they're like, "Oh no, you're coming with me." The security guard blows it out of proportion. So, fearing going back to prison again and doing all of that rehabilitation again, she flees. She freaks out and she runs away. As she runs away, she steals a car that has a woman in the back. I think her name is Veronica. I can't remember if she's like a little girl or not or whatever. But basically the police are like, "Oh, she has a hostage." And Harley's like, "No, she's not a hostage. I just wanted to buy a dress. I'm not taking a hostage." And of course, Batman gets wind of it and he's like, "Okay, come on." So he chases her down. The cops are after her. She's trying desperately to get away. And all she did was try to buy a dress. And now it got blown way out of proportion. Fast forward, Batman does eventually catch her. And Harley Quinn's like, "You know what? Screw it. Screw this real life crap. I tried my hardest to reintegrate back into society. I tried to be a normal person, and I get fucked. I get fucked like this, and it pisses me off." And Batman's like, "You're doing better than you think." And this is what he does. He brings her the dress that she bought. And he says, "I had a bad day too once." He's like, I know what it's like to try to rebuild a life." He empathizes with her. She even asks him, "Why are you being so nice to me? My entire life, I've been doing nothing but giving you trouble. Me and the Joker have been fucking with you our entire lives. And you're still being nice to me. Why? Why are you being nice to me?" And that's what he says. He says, "I know what it's like to rebuild a life. I had a bad day too once," referring back to his parents. So he empathizes with her situation and he gives her the dress that she bought. And she says, "Nice guys like you shouldn't have bad days." And then she kisses him. She just makes out with him. Awesome. Awesome. She says, "Call me," and he says, "Don't push your luck," and then it ends. It's a very wholesome moment. But this is an edgelord using their background in a positive way. He empathizes with someone in the same situation and he shows them kindness. He doesn't try to kill them. He doesn't try to muscle his way through. He doesn't say, "Oh, get over it, noob. I had a bad day. My parents died. What did your parents do?" No, he doesn't do any of that bullshit. He's not just some cold martial artist that beats the shit out of villains. His goal is to protect people, whether that means physically or emotionally. I'll give you another example. Now this one is much darker. This one takes place in the Justice League and the Justice League Unlimited. So it's a two-parter. In the Justice League, there is a group called the Royal Flush Gang, which basically is a group of 5 people represented by Royal Flush. So Ace, King, Queen, Jack, 10. Each of them has a different power. And there is a teenage girl that represents Ace. Her power is that she is psychic, and she can also induce hallucinations in people, so she can cause them to see whatever she wants to see. She can move things with her mind. She's extremely powerful, but she's a teenage girl, so she's a little unstable. Her power was basically a science experiment given to her. So they take her on in the Justice League in the episode Royal Flush Gang or Royal Flush, something like that, where they fight them. Fast forward to the Justice League Unlimited series, and Terry, who is essentially uh, the next Batman behind Bruce from Batman Beyond, he's talking to, what's her name? Amanda Waller from Cadmus. So Amanda Waller shows up and says, hey, here's something Batman did to help you understand that he's not this hardcore martial artist slash vigilante. This is the story that proves that Batman is a person. When the Royal Flush Gang gets taken out, the last one they need to take out is Ace. Ace has trapped herself inside of a, a park in New York City, like park, Gotham Park. So she's sitting on a swing set and she's got all these plants and all these defenses around her to keep people from coming in. And Amanda Waller says, Ace is unstable. She's going to die. And when she does, it could result in a huge like psychic explosion that could affect tons of people. So Batman, what I need you to do is I need you to go in there and I need you to kill her with this needle. Or I need you to zap her and contain her so we can keep her from like exploding. And Batman's like, all right, I'll go in and do it because she won't let anyone in. But Batman's the only one that's willing to try, I guess. I can't remember fully. So Batman goes in there with the device that Amanda Waller gave him. Now, nobody else saw what happened in there. And Batman doesn't say what happened in there. So the next part is Amanda Waller's speculation of what happened based on the outcome. So Batman goes in and Ace says, oh, it's you. Are you here to kill me? And Batman says, no, I'm not. And he tosses the device Amanda gave him. He tosses it away. And she says, I knew you wouldn't. I can read your thoughts. And this happens. One second. Ace knows she's going to die. She knows that her power is so unstable that it's affecting her. And she knows she's going to die. Batman knows she's going to die. And she's scared. She's a scared teenage girl that's going to die in a matter of minutes. Batman was essentially ordered, to take her and either paralyze her or something. It was something to prevent her from this massive blowout that could happen. Could being the operative word. Could happen. It wasn't confirmed. But essentially what happens is Ace looks at Batman and says, I'm scared. I don't want to die. And she says, will you stay with me? Batman sits down on the swing set next to her and he holds her hand. He doesn't say anything. He just holds her hands and he listens to what she has to say. She talks about how she wishes she could have grown up and done this. She wishes things were different. He doesn't say anything. He listens. He empathizes. He throws away the bad boy persona because what he sees isn't a villain. He sees a little girl, a scared teenage girl that's about to die. And she's asking to not be alone. So he sits down, he holds her hand, and he listens to her final words. And in the next scene, he's walking out with Ace in his arms. He didn't do what Amanda wanted. He didn't care if there was psychic blowout. He figured, hey, if anything happens, shit can be rebuilt. If she blows up a building, we can rebuild it. But what he saw was a scared girl looking for help. That is an edgelord that works. They see people, not obstacles, not targets. An edgelord can work. You can be dark. You can have a mask. You can be an assassin. You can be a fighter. But don't lose humanity. Even if you're an elf or an orc or a dwarf, don't sacrifice that part of yourself. And I'm going to give you another good example. An example that's very recent, and I think paints the picture perfectly. That's Minthara. Minthara from Baldur's Gate 3 is a drow. And in drow society, betrayal, backstabbings, sinister thoughts are second nature to them. It's what they do. But Minthara, there's a reason that she's one of the absolute favorite characters in that game. When you first meet Minthara, she's cruel. She wants to decimate the Druid Grove in order to find an object that you carry, but she doesn't know it. If you decide to kill her, that's the end of her story. If you knock her out, you can recruit her in Act 2 of the story. But if you side with her and take out the Druid Grove, you won't find the weapon. But you will, yeah. Sorry, I hit the wrong button, but yeah. But after you two are done, you have a chance to peer into her mind with your psychic powers. I'm not going to spoil it. You have powers. You can peer into her mind. Now, it's usually a good idea not to and just to let it go, but it gives you a tiny flicker of insight into how she works. She wants connection. She doesn't want betrayal. She doesn't like the drow lifestyle. She doesn't like having to constantly check her food for poison. She doesn't like having to sleep with one eye open to constantly check to see if anyone's got a dagger coming at her. She wants connection. She's scared of being alone. But she comes off with this air of, I don't need anybody. She sees the value in people, but she doesn't want to form connections with them because life is short. And she's an elf. She lives forever, unless she's killed. But later down the line, you eventually realize, hey, you kept me alive. Why? Why did you keep me alive? You could have killed me, and I would just be a memory. Or no, she said, I would just be another victim in your crusade against the Absolute, which is the main enemy of the game. And she says in a very gentle tone, and then no one would remember me. So she values the fact that you kept her alive. Not just for the sake of being alive. It's because she doesn't want to fade away. She's scared to death of being alone. She's scared to death of not having that connection. I mean, cultists of the Absolute even use that connection against her. And the reason she was even with the Absolute cultists in the first place was because she was mind controlled by someone. So her end goal in the story is to get revenge on somebody. And she is a hard ass. So with these traits here, with these, One second here. There we go. So, does she have a dark backstory? Yes. Does she prefer killing over talking? Usually, yes. She just says, hey, should we just kill these guys and move on? They're starting to piss me off. She's not above talking, but she's a no nonsense, no bullshit kind of person. Rarely, if ever, talks at all. No, she's very socially interactable. Whereas Black, that's up to you, but she starts off that way. She's a drow. It's what they do. Refuses to interact or engage with others on a social level. That's not true either. She doesn't like Gale because she doesn't like wizards, but she does interact with Karlach and Lae'zel and Shadowheart. She does interact with people that interact with her, so she doesn't ignore them or stay silent. Is she single-minded and driven very hard towards a goal? No. No, she does have a kill revenge story, but she also wants to take down the Absolute that did this to her, so she has two targets, or she wants to do the evil ending to the game. I won't spoil it, but there's a third thing that she wants. Does she prefer to do things in a straight line? For the most part. When you eventually free her from the cult of the Absolute, she wishes that you could just fight your way out. But there are several ways that you can help her escape. You can talk your way out, you can cast invisibility on her, but she prefers to just fight and kill everybody and leave. So she does fit that persona. Is she a lone wolf? Partially. She doesn't willingly walk up to others and say, hey, can I talk to you? No. If you have her in your party and you're walking along, she'll look over and say, hey, Gale, or hey, Lae'zel, and they'll start talking and saying something. So she does interact on a social level, but she's not a very active participant unless she's curious about something. So why does Minthara work as a successful edgelord? Because she has depth. Same as Batman, same as Shadow, same as Hiei and Iki. She has depth. She doesn't have somebody that she wants to protect like they do. She doesn't have a protection thing like Batman or Iki or Hiei. She doesn't have that. What she has is a sense of self-preservation. The cult of the Absolute took what she was. They took her personality, they took her mind, they took her control away from her. Once she got that back, she saw the value in herself. She was like, eyes opened. And she realized, hey, I like who I am, and I don't want to go away. If you killed me, I'd be gone. And that's it. That'd be the end of my story. But you kept me alive. And for that, I am grateful. See, the thing with drow culture in Dungeons and Dragons is they are very, very untrustworthy because they grow up in a society of poisoners and backstabbers. Their entire society is built around underhanded tactics. She's scared to death of that because she survived 2 assassination attempts. One when she was still a baby, because she is basically the daughter of the highest ranking house in the drow culture. She's basically a princess, to put it very, very, very simply. She's basically a princess in rank, not story-wise, whatever. So she survives an assassination attempt that her mom protects her from. Her second assassination attempt was from her mother. Her mom tried to kill her, but she gave her a scar. She didn't kill her mom, but she did give her scars. That's the kind of culture she grew up in. Everybody's out to backstab everybody if it means getting to the top. They'll poison your food. They'll stab you in your sleep. You constantly have to be on edge. If you romance Minthara, like you should, she realizes, hey, this is a person I can let my guard down. And if you can convince a drow to do that, they are infinitely loyal. A drow that you convince to be your friend, they will be loyal to you for life. That is Minthara's defining trait. If you save her, she will fight for you. Like for the longest time. She will take down armies in your name because you saved her from that life. You saved her from a life of betrayal. You saved her from a life of having to constantly watch her back. And in exchange, she fights for you. She uses her paladin powers to beat down anybody that you point a finger at. If you point a finger and say, Minthara, kill that guy, she'll say, why? And if you give her a good enough reason, she'll say, all right, boom. She's not stupid. She's not a dog. But she has no objections against it unless it's for a dumb reason. But essentially, she will say, okay, if this person has to die, then they have to die. Fuck them. Minthara doesn't work as an edgelord at first, but she is proof that the transition to a good edgelord is possible with the right circumstances. It's all about how you write the character. Does she have zero interaction? Not technically. But if she's curious about something, or if somebody approaches her, she talks to them. You don't have to initiate the conversation. Is she murder focused? No, she's not murder focused. But she does see it as the quickest means to an end. There are several ways to get her out of prison. But she prefers the let's just kill them and be done. But if you convince her to take another route, she'll say, all right, we'll do it your way. And she'll go along with it. Is she a lone wolf? Not really. She's just an isolationist. But she understands value. She understands the value of teamwork. Does she use you in order to gain power? No. She has to team up with you for reasons that are out of her control. But she does see the value of your power, and she sees it as the smart idea to team up. She's not using you as a weapon to further her goals. She's teaming up with you because it's a good idea. Strength in numbers against somebody that can fight against the people that controlled her. It's just logical. Does she have a dark backstory? Yes. Does it define her? No. In fact, it's the catalyst for why she desires a better life. She's not like Batman where she survived a harsh life and then wants to protect other people from it. She survived a harsh life. So when a different kind of better life presents itself, she sees the value in it. Once her eyes are opened, she realizes the value that her life has because her life was taken from her by force. Hey, hey, hey. Sorry, cat's being naughty. So Minthara is another perfect example of an edgelord done right. And there are dozens of other examples, but I want to keep this relatively short, an hour long. But this is how you write an edgelord correctly. Her, Batman, EA, Iki, all of those guys. All of those people. I gave you bad examples. I gave you good examples. In the end, you're the one that has to decide whether or not your character is an edgelord that's redeemable or not redeemable. You have to look at your character's motivations, their reasonings, their methods, all of that. If you want to make an edgelord character, you have to make it one that other players are going to enjoy being around. The key to making a good edgelord character is to fit the archetype, but make it so other people value your character. People think edgelord and they think, oh god, another brooding vampire that hides in the shadows because his parents were killed and now he has to hunt down the men that killed his family. Nobody wants that crap. But you know what they do want? They want to help out the scared kid who had to watch his parents burn in a fire because his brother betrayed them. And he says to himself, I'm going to find my brother. And I'm going to make him pay for this. Don't say killed. Say, I'm going to make him pay for this. You can't. And if you want to go around with a black hood and a black cloak and black clothes and hide your face, say it's because my brother doesn't know I'm alive. So I have to hide myself so that way he doesn't come looking for me. He doesn't know I'm coming for him. So I have to hide myself. So why do you fight with short-bladed weapons in martial arts? Well, because a big weapon would cause a commotion. It would bring attention to me. I don't want attention. I want to remain hidden so my brother doesn't find me. What about being straightforward? Fuck that. There's many, many, many ways to get around solutions without killing. If I kill this person, my brother will find out because this person has died. It'll get reported on. The body will be found or reported missing, so on and so forth. But if I sneak around them, I can infiltrate the castle without alerting anybody. And my brother will have no idea that something is wrong. And I can go in there and get him. What about being a lone wolf? Well, no. I could easily have the bard over here distract the guard while I sneak in through the window. So it would be good to have someone valuable as a friend. And if they help me out with my storyline, I should return the favor and help them out with their storyline. Hey, do you need someone to pick that lock? Or, hey, do you need me to snipe that dude off the roof so you can walk inside without getting spotted? I'm your guy. You helped me, so I'll help you. Being an edgelord doesn't mean you can't be a team player. If you want to be a lone wolf character, you have to kind of play it off as, I'm going to do my own thing, but if you guys need me, say so. Come get me. And you go off and do your own thing. And then when they find you and go, hey, we need you for something real quick, go, what is it? Listen to the explanation and then say, all right. And then go along. Because anytime someone goes to Batman for help, he's like, okay. Why? Because somebody needs help. That's how it goes. That's all you need to do. If you want your edgelord character to work, you have to decide what aspects of the edgelord you want to keep, and you have to write around the other ones to make them work. If you want your character to be a lone wolf, then you have to sacrifice keeping them open to socializing. They can be a lone wolf. They can sit in the corner, eat food by themselves, just kind of chill. But if the waitress walks up to you, hands you your food, and says, "Here you go," don't just don't just snarl at her or give her a mean look. Say, "Thank you." Is that hard? If you want to be a murder hobo and kill everything in sight, make sure it's for the right reason. If they did something wrong and you think it's preferable to jail, or you think they'll just get out of jail, so we need to snip this in the bud and wipe out all of these people before they rob that entire town. We got to take out this bandit camp, or they're going to cause untold suffering. Don't say, let's just kill them and get it over with and get our reward. No, fuck you, dude. It's all about character motivation. Why? Why is the question you need to ask yourself on every single point. Why does my character do this? Why are they a lone wolf? Why are they antisocial? Why are they constantly wearing black? Give a reason to everything you're doing. And then ask yourself, will other people find that interesting? Because Dungeons and Dragons and books are social interactions with people. Dungeons and Dragons, you're literally playing a game alongside other people. And books are for other people to read. Unless you're writing it for yourself, then do whatever the fuck you want. I ain't your dad. But what you should be doing is asking yourself, how do I get people to like this character? What can I do to make this character cool within these boundaries? And it's just like I told you. You have to ask yourself, why? I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope I gave you some insight. So, tell your story, my friend.